We're starting our Lazy's Lifetime episode of today with a very sad
opening.
Stephen just realized that he forgot to bring along the Z because I don't know why. Why was that, Stephen?
Why was that?
How could that happen?
Well,
with all the mindfulness going on.
Yeah,
so.
in the moment when I was going to get it, you arrived, and I was totally overwhelmed by your presence that I forgot about the letter.
No, you were just completely disturbed by my cap and my bandana.
No, that's your version. That's not mine.
Okay. So nice to have you, Stephen.
Very nice to be here.
May I present to you, audience, and you out there. This is Stephen Cardona, a dear friend of mine. That's what you are. And so I introduced you in the radio show where I talked about, or where I was telling people that this was coming up, that you were a therapist and a musician, and very intrigued by the approach of mindfulness and working your way, or have been working your way into that realm or world for quite some time now. I didn't go into details like what tradition you are interested in, and I left out a lot that you are, and that's something maybe we would want to find out today. So who are you and what are you about? Yeah, so we were talking before in the car about a metaphor that just came up, what these talks what a metaphor for these talks could be, and you were referring to jazz music and improvisation and the way musicians, or at least jazz music happens, and I like that a lot.
I'm listening to the bass intro, a very long and smooth and wonderful bass intro.
That's what you said. Like a bass, that could be me. No, I like that very much. That's like in the background, but it's the backbone also. It's giving structure. So the structure I came up with, and it's a very, very, let's say, a very raw one, was the past, the present, and the future. In a way, like, where do you come from? Or maybe in our way of thinking, how do you, what's your preferred way of constructing your past? What's your preferred way? What's your preferred story? The preferred stories you tell yourself about your past at this point in time, which means that the past is as volatile as everything. So what's happening in your life at this point in time? Because you have teenagers also. We talked about that. But there's a lot
grown-ups and
grown-ups also.
And,
So there's a lot of course there's a lot going on in your life, what I got, very interesting things going on. And then, so what is your perspective for your life? What are things you're interested by, you're attracted by, where you have a natural impulse to want to check out, to explore. So these are like the three parts. And with the last two talks, they were family talks in a way. So thank you. I had talks before that, but it was 4 years ago with people that were not family. But like Dominic came, my nephew, and then my sister came like 2 weeks ago. And you were there, Petra, and it was pretty intense with a strong focus on the past and also on trauma, because that's something that was really present in my family. And I would, for change, maybe have, I don't know how we get there, but maybe with mindfulness to get closer to the present, and maybe also like really, because that's what I'm interested in also. What does our heart long for, and how does that, for what ways of expression does that ask from us? So that was something for change, a bit of rhythm or theme or even jazz genre. Would be maybe rather more funky than sad and yeah.
I was thinking about a ballad.
Yeah.
But not a sad ballad.
For this talk or for the last
No,
talks?
just we're listening to your introduction and following the metaphor of jazz. I just arrived in this
Ballad,
very bright, slow and smooth. Maybe probably changing rhythms and tempo and.
So you're not saying we're not changing the genre, we're changing a bit the pace, and that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thanks for that proposal of the ballad, because I like melancholy a lot, because it has this mixture, this cocktail of sadness and joy.
Mm-hmm.
That's so for me. Everything that's like the gypsy kind of music that stems from that, like fado and all the Balkan stuff and so on. It's like I'm really. So it's very beautiful for you offering that. Also for me, how do I reconstruct the talks I had with my family, and how do they fit into the jazz scheme?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. Yeah, nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Talking about your family, may I just interrupt?
No, please.
When you mentioned your family and that you had these family talks, I spontaneously came into my mind that the last time I was here,
yes,
it was the last time I was here, was on your birthday.
Yes, and
there was a lot of family, family,
mm-hmm.
and I felt very comfortable in your family. I really felt very comfortable in your family.
Nice. That's sweet.
And so I feel very comfortable here now as a continuation of the family talks.
Yeah.
Continuation, moving into the next space and.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Next episode.
Next episode.
It's Eminem. It's not an Eminem song. It's something. That's nice. So, before we play the first song, the first track, I really loved the music you came up with. And the first thing we were going to play is something. So you said this is Lazy or Martin. Well, I would say that's something that could also connect us, and we'll get to that in a second. And afterwards, I'd like to talk about the present, if you feel like it. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to know. So if you think of your present right now, what kind of music comes to your mind? What kind of vibe is going on in your life at this point in time?
At this point in time?
Ooh. Yeah, just think.
Ooh. And in a way, the questions, they're so deep.
Yeah, nice.
They slow me down. They intimidate me a little bit.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm not uncomfortable being intimidated. Might be strange, but that's the way it is. Yeah, it's probably this idea of with these huge questions. There must be huge answers. So that's probably the intimidating part that happens in my head.
It's just like in therapy. I was saying this to a group this week. I was saying, or in supervision, that was like sometimes you think for the big things to happen, you need to do the big things, but a lot of times it's just the very little things that have a great impact. So if the question seems so huge, maybe the answer can be very small. Also,
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh.
But
what would you think about this? We put on the music and you answer after, so you have time to.
But I do have some the question was, would you repeat the question?
So if you think about your present moment, or you feel, you get your sense, your present moment, or your present life.
Yeah.
So what kind of music is that? What kind of vibes going on? If that were music, what kind of vibes going on in this moment of your life right now? Or this? Want to think about it now and say, or we put on the music and you answer?
Well, I mean, if I really just go straight to the music that moves me in these times, it's jazz with a lot of Arab influence.
Like that.
It's the like Dafa Youssef, Anwar Brahim. The oud is something that really touches me deeply, very, very deeply, and the oud in combination with Arab percussion on the and with the Arab wind instruments, very, very deeply touching.
There's two things coming to my mind directly. First, desert, and the second, nomads.
The second,
nomads.
Yeah.
And the desert fathers in Christian tradition. So you go to the desert to meet yourself, to meet life, to meet God, if you want. It's beautiful. I would like to let's play that song. We don't play Change now. You have. I have glasses. That's good. What was the song then? Is that question and answers?
No.
Bending new corners.
No. I actually, since I chose the tunes that connect me to people around me, there probably is not one of these tunes.
Okay, so what would be the one that would fit now?
Well, maybe yes. Well, I'll just move on. This is one part that touches me, and what I discovered lately was by chance, and I had goosebumps on my whole body, like
I want that one.
Moving up, and that's the one I chose for myself. Hopelessly.
Crosby, Stills, Nash.
Yes. What is it? Helplessly hoping.
Helplessly hoping. I was just seeing that. I was saying,
and it is.
That's beautiful.
These multi-voice layers, harmonies, voice harmonies. They are so touching. So. It's very, very different from the Arab style. It's kind of has a lot to do with my past. Or at least with my construction of my past, the composition of my past, and that could be very nice. Yeah,
I find that interesting. What we talked about several days ago already, or that's like a theme that comes again and again at this point in time when we talk. Is like having these two things at the same time, maybe opposing things also in our consciousness or in our mind, in our attention. Now this is Arab and this is almost country style folk
and
music.
At the same time it's conflict free.
Yes.
It might be opposing, but still it's conflict free at the same time.
Let's see if I get goosebumps.
Yeah.
So one song was for you.
One was for me, one was for my mom.
Helplessly hopeful.
Helplessly hoping. Not quite sure, I think.
So you were saying that the song was really touched you like a while ago and still does, as what I could perceive. And then there's the title. Is that important, the title, or it doesn't matter?
It actually doesn't matter. The title intrigues me, and when I look at the lyrics, I see, whoa, there's a depth. It would be take a lot of effort to work into the lyrics and try to understand what they're aiming at. It's very, very deep. I have the feeling, so I didn't go into it. I just stay with the harmonies and the voices, and
you catch the one or the other meme going on in the lyrics.
Yeah, probably on a subconscious level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but the reaction is on the musical level.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So that's something that reminds you of something, or is it just like, what is it?
In a way, it reminds me, but it reminds me that this has been something that has always touched me very deeply. These vocals, multi-voice vocals, really touch me deeply. And in this case, it's like with a strong reminiscence from my childhood.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that is, how does that come? Where does that come from? Is the style of music, was that your father or your mother, or was it like music playing? It
was, I think, well, we had a lot of music playing in the family, like this Arlo Guthrie thing that was for my mother, and my parents liked to listen to music, and we shared, like in the 70s, we shared a common part of music, the Beatles and Simon and Garfunkel and so on. But then I started having my own style, and this Crosby, Stills, Nash was kind of more my thing. I believe together with my brother a little bit, and but that was really something that got to me.
You know what does got to me? So I suppose Arlo Guthrie is the son of Woody Guthrie, is he?
Yeah.
So and then Woody Guthrie was a hobo, a nomad in modern America. So there we have a connection to the desert and nomads and Arab music, haven't we?
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, we could at least if we wanted to. So first we were talking about your presence. Your presence, and you were saying not so much necessarily as an analogy for what's going on in your life, but rather the music you're intrigued by at this point in time. That's this music, jazz music, that has strong influences from the Arab culture background. With the instrumentation, but also with the harmonies and the rhythms and so on. Also the stuff you like the video you sent me in the Alps. Who was it again? You sent me this. He's a singer, isn't he?
Oh, that Dafa Youssef.
Dafa Youssef.
Yeah, in the Alps. Yeah.
And then you said, why not? I don't have this music here now. I didn't, because I was connecting music to people. And then you came up with your song and a song for your mom. And now we have this in the space of the present moment. So we have the past in the is your mom still alive?
She's still alive, and this is actually what really connects me. But with this song, which connects me to her, I imagine her listening to this song and just opening up and beaming and blooming.
Where is she? Is she sitting somewhere?
She's sitting in Stuttgart.
Oh, nice.
Sitting, and she's not very well. She's quite ill. Yeah.
But still,
the music really touches her, and
now I get the goosebumps. Thanks. That's beautiful.
That's very was a nice discovery at some point when I just had this idea of, wow, we used to listen to music. Let me put on music when I'm at her place visiting, and the effect was very, very touching.
That's interesting, if I might say that, because talking about me, this was a revelation that came so late to me. Like, music played a role, it has always been playing a role, but it was so removed from my daily life until I was let's say 8-9 years ago, when I only started to understand. I didn't even understand then, but something opened up inside of me. My organism went in that direction without me understanding anything at all, and I didn't want to understand. And this is getting stronger and stronger and stronger, understanding how important that is for my life. That was what happened when I was at your place, and that's a present moment thing. So you are working with sounds in therapy also, and it's not necessarily therapy, it's also people looking for ways of feeling themselves, getting into some kind of resonance with the organism on a new level, maybe, if I may
Depends
say.
on how you understand and describe therapy.
Yeah,
the limits
same thing.
of.
Yeah. So like therapy would be like with the intention of healing, and what I'm saying now is like doing something, and the side effect could be healing. So it's not so intentional necessarily. So what I feel, what you are doing, it's like on this spectrum, and that's nice because it opens up what you're offering and the space you offer to lots of people, even if they're not yet saying, "Oh, there's something I feel that needs healing," you know. So, and so when I was at your place, and thanks again for because Stephen, he gave me a present on my birthday to have a session with him, and his, how do you call that bed?
A sound bed in
bed,
English.
Yeah.
We call it sound bed.
Sound.
It's a monochord actually where you can lie on.
So it's a monochord then?
Yeah, the underneath is the monochord.
What's a monochord for people who don't know it?
Oh, there's lots of strings tuned rather in the same way, in the same on the same tone, but in this case we have a variation of toning.
So you people and you get an idea of what Stephen is about. For me, also. Let me just talk about two things I experienced with you with regard to music and what I was just saying, and I would like to get back to your mom also. Then, if okay. And that was like this one moment on the sound bed where like I was lying there and so stuff was happening, and then I thought, I just leave me alone, all of you. I just want anything. I don't know. It just came from out from somewhere. I don't want to have anything to do with you. Just, you know. And then I tuned into the music. I couldn't. I had this resistance in my body, but then the music, the invitation of the music was so strong. I couldn't resist it. So I was like, okay, I'm okay with that. I open up to that, and then it opened up completely everything. So that was one moment where music, like, I haven't reflected upon that so deeply yet, but I mean, that's like a process that's happening on a subtle level at this point in time, where I start to understand what kind of impact is a strong word, like what kind of deep effect music has on me and can have on others. And yeah. And the other moment was when we were sitting in the Thalia cafe and we were talking, and I was saying, "Yeah, I'm sorry. You can try to dig there, but there is nothing." You know, I was traumatized. I was completely caught in my PTBS, my post-traumatic stress, or the PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and I had no resources at all to get out of there. I was just like, all I had was like trying to get away from it with some other sensations. You said then, yeah, but what about that shaman you were talking about when you're dancing? What about that one? And I went like, oh yeah, that's true. So, as you said, with Crosby, Stills Nash, the lyrics, it's music. You talk about your mum, the second song, which was Arlo Guthrie.
Don't think twice. It's all right.
Don't think twice.
The
it's
words
all right.
do count.
and like this. What you weren't explicitly saying that yet, but like your mum, there's something going on in the cognitive space for her. So something's different now from what it was before, which makes probably communication at times more challenging. And then you say, yeah, but there's this other way where she would resonate and she would open up and bloom. That's so beautiful, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So that's your mom in the present.
If you don't mind, I would like to offer the way I distinguish between sound and music.
Oh. I'm all ears.
Actually, because you mentioned the session on the sound bed.
Yes.
And we listened to some music, and I also explained how the music, and I believe that this is usually for many the case, that music links us to something. That we have memories, we have a lot of memories probably, and even in the music, even when we don't know the music, the piece we're listening to, we have this anticipation of what's going to come next. So we're kind of, in a nice way, we're kind of caught in how do we call this? In expectation.
We talked about structure before. It's like a pre-structured space that we know already in a way. Like a place that's familiar.
We're caught in structure in a way.
And held also. Held.
Yes, and held in structure. It can be very, very self-assuring to feel the structure, to be held in a structure. Very nicely said. Yeah. And that's what the difference, difference that I feel towards the sound is that we leave this space of structure, or at least we leave this space of knowing what's coming, or this coming from going to. I mean, in music we always have a from to, and then in the end we spin in circles, starting at the beginning and going to the end again. We have, and in sound, it's like endless. It just comes out of the nowhere, and it's like a pattern of interweaved elements that constantly changes. Unexpectedly, even maybe, with the overtones appearing and disappearing, or rather transforming then disappearing, transforming from one to the other and moving around. And so we're less in this space of expecting something and knowing what's going to come, anticipating. That's the word I was looking for. Less in this anticipation and more in this we're closer to this state of letting go and going with, something like that. And that's what I find interesting. That's for me, the way I understand the difference between music therapy and sound therapy is that in music therapy we can compose for example, picking up someone in a certain mood and moving through music into another mood. And in sound therapy, it's different. It's more like just opening something and offering a space, and the person, you don't know what the person is going to do.
So what you're offering there, it's just so many things, like associations going on in my mind now with things that I'm working, or that are working in my organism at this point in time, with the whole thing of structure and openness. And if you want to, so we're talking about Buddhism, in the Hanya Shinryo, that's how you say it in Soto Zen, Japanese Zen, or the Heart Sutra, there's this form is emptiness, and like the heart of the Heart Sutra is form is emptiness, and emptiness is form is form, and emptiness is emptiness. So what we're talking here is exactly that. It's like we talk about form, the structure, and that's like music. And then we talk about ku, or emptiness, or total openness and connectedness, which is sound. So that's what that's like, and there's also this thing that you can get caught up on one side, like being attached to enlightenment and emptiness, like the absolute, the God, the spiritual realm. or get completely caught up in everyday's life and wanting to obtain something and goal orientation and all of that, success. And then, so what I learned in Buddhism and in Buddhist practice is neither. And that's the same thing we were talking about before. How can you live in a space where you just transcend from one to the other all the time, and you stop wanting to take refuge in one world, like in the absolute or in the outer world, but you just move, and that's what comes to my mind. So you could say like, oh, sound is more interesting because it allows for more open processes, and I feel like no, like I was saying, I was at your place the other day with Klangfeld and the gong experience you offer, and I was saying that's not for me anymore, like staying in the stillness, not moving. And then I was proposing, why not do something together where there would be like the stillness and then moving into, and that could be like have sound and then move into music and then go back to sound again and then have this, pulse.
But having distinguished between music and sound, and now listening to you, it comes to my mind that actually it's probably not even the distinguishing between sound and music. It's not the offering. It's the hearing. I mean, I can hear music also
absolutely
without structure, without anticipating. And actually, if I'm really present in this one. In this one, it's not even a slice because it doesn't have any thickness. It's just there it is, and then it's the next moment. Then there is nothing that is going to come in the moment, in the present moment. There is only sound. There's no music.
So that's the proposal. You're saying the proposal to the hearer is you can go with the structure and you can like.
Yes, you can do both.
You can get into that mode of being held in a structure and something familiar. With music, you can at least. But you can also open up to the deeper dimension of sound. That's what came to me also with DJing. That I was there, okay, I'm waiting. I'm just waiting for the structure to end so I can start a new structure of the next song. Then it got to me that, why don't dive into the sound while I'm listening and like, offering this experience. Why not taking part in this experience by hearing and going into the sound world also? Then, if we talk about your work and the sound bed, it's different in a way. Of course, you were also like hesitating. So is it structure or not? So that's what I felt at least when we were talking. Because I mean, there's no intention to establish a structure. That's one thing. But sound has a structure. And also, what we were saying, or the other day, was like that what music offers invites the organism and the mind and the consciousness to structure and to process things. So there is some kind of also structure, but it's like also with DJing you can have like this modern electronic music. It's like boom 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 boom, it's 4 to the floor, it's like really exact and it's produced like that. And then you have the old songs, and if you would have a beat grid, it has to be elastic because sometimes they play fast, they play slower. And I mean with sound, that's like the structure happen. It's like, isn't it?
Sound is structure. I mean,
it's waves.
Yeah, it's waves, and they are totally structured. They are in proportions to each other with the overtones and everything. That it's very, very deeply structured. Yeah.
So I'm in our talk, and I thought that this talk is like sound a bit also, like evolving. No, not structured that much. And then I go, and that's what we're talking about also. So. How can we act in the present moment? And like I was referring to Bernie Glassman, a Zen master who lived in Yonkers in Prague, and he was very in social sozial engagiert, social engaged Buddhism. He was very involved in that, working with HIV people living on the streets and so on. And he came up with, so they had this Zen peacemaker order. So it was a non-religious Buddhist thing, but rather a spiritual practice and so on. And these three things they had as a mindset or a guiding principle that was not knowing, so being completely open to what is, then manifesting what's happening, witnessing what's manifesting, and then act from there. These two work with that. Now I'm here, sitting here, and I get something. I'm witnessing something manifesting at my inside, and that's that. We have talked a lot about music now. I would like to play music now, and then I would like to change. So I would like to play change now. Buggy Wesseltoft. And then I would like to move to maybe transition from. I was introducing, or we were introducing, maybe also like references from music to real life or spiritual phenomena, and I would like to move into something, maybe the therapeutic thing. I don't know yet. Let's see.
If you don't mind, at some point, I would just like to share this.
I would like you
what happened when you suggested that I choose some music for the close people around me, and I did do so, and it was was not a very long process, but it was a touching process, and I'd like to share that.
Okay.
Maybe after
or maybe now.
Maybe now. Now that I've started. Okay. Maybe now. Okay. Change was something that we already had discovered, and it was so. It was just like a match. So there was no question. That was, and also something that links the two of us. That kind of.
You were surprised I knew it, and I had it in a way.
Actually, yes. I mean, it was like, buff, it was there.
Yeah.
That was very nice and touching. And actually, the music I chose for my parents, my life partner, my ex-wife, my 2 younger kids, and my 2 older kids.
He's got a rich life.
That is, these are all tunes that I remember they liked, but they liked together with me. So these are all tunes that are very strongly linked to me. I mean, for example, this "Don't Think Twice, It's Alright." I wouldn't choose this as my music, but the image is so strong of my mother. Smiling and blooming, that it touches me deeply. So it's something that connects us. Yeah, just to describe. And then with my ex-wife, she's French. There was right away this one song which was constantly present, a quite funny song of this strange and probably pretty complicated rock singer-songwriter, French, Renaud. Wonderful. It just came up right away, and it was so nice to listen to it again. I didn't even have to search very deeply for what could be suitable. And so that was really nice to listen to that. And then for my present life partner, it was really something that I always notice whenever we play Norah Jones, and like also just all the whole Norah Jones collection in a random mix, which we can do with these streaming services. It's so peaceful, and so the atmosphere is nice, and she likes to have music playing in the background, and Norah Jones is very suitable. And then the song Nightingale is just like was the one that came to me, and so I listened to Nightingale, and then I moved on to my older sons. And with my oldest son, Raphael, I had this memory of we were at a wonderful concert in the Enjoy Jazz Festival many years ago in, I think it was Schifferstadt in the
Speyer.
Pfalz, close to Speyer. On this marketplace in Schifferstadt, between these old buildings, and really nice with a huge stage, and I didn't even mention his name, Ibrahim Malouf, one of these guys with this Arabian background, and So this was very clear. That's one of the songs. Huh?
Questions and answers.
That's question and answers, right? So there is one song with in this style. Yeah, exactly. That was clear. And then with my next son Jan, he inherited my Fender Rhodes, which I had but did not use. And so
you have a Fender Rhodes?
Yeah, I used to have a Fender Rhodes, and Jan has it now.
It's an old electronic piano, like the Doors. Manzarek has played on it, but he has the bass thing, I think. But it's from '73. It's a '73 Rhodes. I envy.
You must go to Berlin and visit him, and I'm sure
Raphael.
Play. No, it's Jan.
Jan. I don't know Jan. I know Raphael, but I don't know Jan.
Okay. So it was clear that it should be something that with something Fender Rhodesy. And then they both are half French, Raphael and Jan. So it was for me and Ibrahim Malouf, living in France, and it was kind of clear that there was something coming up from Eric Truffaz. He's not French, he's Swiss, but still he comes from Francophone Switzerland. So there's a tune from Eric Truffaz, Bending New Corners, which I find very interesting and nice. I have very strong personal memories with the song too. Yeah, moving on.
You're talking about all songs. Yeah. We could also do that with the songs when we play them. How do you think about that?
No. I would just like to finish it because it was this
the whole process you were going through.
It was the process. Yeah. And then I had, which is much more present, in a way much more present, but in a way the gap in between, I mean the age gap between my younger sons and me is much larger. So it was seemingly more difficult to find a combination, a connection between between us, but it was quite smoothly. I did ask them. I did back check with them.
Oh, yeah, nice.
And in both cases, actually, it changed.
Oh, right.
Because I chose something that I had strong memories with, connecting to them. And I asked them, not if that was okay, but I asked them, which one would you choose? And they both came up with songs that immediately was, oh, yes, to me, but I had just not so present in my mind. And so I changed these two, and the one is Jeans On, which is kind of like a running gag with Lawrence. Very funny, and we both we listened to it right away and started dancing. And with Pablo, I had a suggestion which he did not approve. And because he right away had this Herbie Hancock sound. Chameleon.
15 minutes now, isn't it?
It's pretty long, 15 minutes. He was between Chameleon and Watermelon Man from this Headhunters album from Herbie Hancock, which is also very Fender Rhodes. Fender Rhodesy. Yeah, so now I'm through with this process, and it was wonderful. I was very thankful that you suggested this, because it was a nice process, and like kind of tying us all together in a nice bundle of memories and feelings, and
that's what I thought.
I forgot my father. Excuse me.
No, excuse you.
Excuse me, Dad. My father, that's a very touching song. My father, he was Spanish, or is Spanish, and from Catalonia. And there is a song which is which, as far as I remember it, or maybe constructed it, I don't know, which was kind of a Catalonian hymn, Song of the Birds. and played by Pablo Casals on the cello. It is so deeply touching. And I wanted to play it on his funeral, on his funeral.
He's not with us anymore.
He doesn't. He died 10 years ago. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I wanted to play it. I was not able to play it because I was so touched by the funeral, and with this music, I would just not have been able to play it. And I played it. Well, actually,
you played the cello.
No, not the cello. I play all these wind instruments.
I would have played it on the wind instruments. I played it on the wind.
And I did play it in the end because this was what I was talking about was not the funeral. It was this Trauerfeier.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the actual funeral, we were just a very small group of just the family, the close family. And I did play besides the grave where after it had been closed. I did play the song, and it's very, very touching for me. Yeah. Now I'm through. I have them all.
I'd like to stay with your dad for a moment, and my dad. They're both dead. Dead daddies.
Dead daddies living in us, continuing in us.
So I was thinking to have, the different days when I play music also on the stream, to dedicate these to different archetypes. So Wednesday is for the mothers, it's deep house, also to connect, or sound also, sounds, opening sound spaces and and tuning in to a pulse, also of Mother Earth. Saturdays was strictly dance, that was for the fathers, for the daddies. And Sundays is for the children. But it's Sunday, I still want to think about my dad and your dad, which are both dead.
Dead dads.
Which is sweet, because then the circle is closed, isn't it?
My father died very kind of peacefully, in a place where he loved to be.
Mine didn't.
Which was not with us, but at his work.
A little bit of sarcasm never hurts. A bit of sarcasm never hurts.
Can we cut this? Can we?
So I thought, when I saw the list and I saw also the length of the songs, like Change is a pretty long song, Chameleon is a pretty long song, we don't have so much time to talk. So it's nice that you introduced the songs and the link to the people in your life, and the important people in your life. And because this said, we play music and we don't talk anymore. We don't have the time.
So thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming. No, I'm kidding. But so I thought with your mom but then also with your dad and that's another interesting thing with music. I don't know them, but the songs and introduces me to the relationship you had with them, and that makes them come to life also for me. Isn't that funny? I mean, that's beautiful also. I like that. So
that's the feeling I had also when I was choosing this.
And it's not only for you. You were talking about your own experience. Like it was interesting for you and it was moving for you. But it's also
introducing,
and you're offering these wonderful people to us as people we might want to connect with, at least in this way now. Thanks for that, and for doing that.
Well, as I said, thank you for the idea.
So now the question is, what do we play next?
How about Song of the Birds, and then moving on to Change?
All right, so that's 2 songs, and then we'll see what happens next. I said I wanted to maybe move out of the realm of music, and then, because there's other realms to explore, like family life, like therapy, mindfulness. I mean,
let's listen mindfully.
Okay, we don't talk about mindfulness, we just listen mindfully. Okay.
Let's listen to mindfulness. That's pretty good too.
So, dass wir gar nicht unbedingt entscheiden müssen, wie das Gespräch weitergeht, sondern vielleicht dann auch im Gespräch mit dem Publikum. In diesem Fall Petra. Darf ich dich beim Namen nennen? Petra aus Kehl, die heute angereist ist. Danke, Petra, dafür, dass du da bist. Schön. Ja, dass da ja, also wenn da entstehen Gespräche und die können ja auch dann quasi, ne, das ist auch was wir bezeugen können, was sich da manifestiert. Und das kann dann auch unser Gespräch strukturieren. Das war schon auch ein Gedanke, wo ich dann gedacht habe, ach, das ist eigentlich schön, wenn ist es dann nämlich gar nicht Publikum, sondern Menschen, die mit uns hier sind, dass dann das Gespräch auch einen anderen Reichtum nochmal bekommt.
Shall we go back to English?
That's a good idea.
Or we say in German?
No. Because I mean that's something also that's happening that I talked to you about it. But I had this moment with my mom like 3 weeks ago, and I talked on one radio show. I was talking only about that. What kind of deep revelation that was for me to have this moment with her, but also how just like my inner axis shifted when I understood my mother tongue was English. And now it's just natural to do both. And I want also to address not necessarily native English speakers, but people who don't speak German, but who speak English and might be interested in something happening here. So that's why I'm happy that you agreed that we'd speak English and that you said that was perfectly okay for you. So thanks for that. And thanks for reminding.
Oh, I mean, for me, obviously, it's also a very deep, touching subject.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about, in the beginning, you said who I am.
Yeah.
And I in this same moment, I thought, whoa, huge question. Maybe, what do I feel that I am composed of? What parts am I composed of? And then I had that brought me down to structure in a way, you know, like getting this whole big thing into pieces. And me,
your life,
this big question. And it was like with a German mother, a Spanish father, growing up in the U.S., born and growing up in the U.S.,
Princeton,
moving to Germany at the age of 7, being discriminated as an American kid for a year, being bullied every day at school, and dealing with the language problems in a context where there was no understanding of how do people from foreign countries grow into foreign languages, into new languages, even children. There was just no awareness of how this works. I have this one thing. I believe it's true. I don't know if it's true. It's just maybe it's something I made up in the end. I have this memory of my the first test I wrote at school in Germany, Stuttgart-Möhringen, to be precise. And it was
the airport, isn't it? Is it
yeah, it's Direction Airport, right? And it was a math test. And as I remember, I think I was probably at that age totally okay in math, but I wrote it was a 6, as in the 6.
Okay, very bad grade.
Very bad grade. I mean,
the worst grade you can get.
I had 0 points of I don't know how many.
A very strong clipping going on. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Is that your mic? Or
my mic, maybe?
Yeah, sorry.
Oops, okay. And what happened is that in German, when we count, we go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then we turn around. 21.
Yeah.
We say the numbers backwards.
It's completely crazy.
And I calculated everything backwards because they say it backwards. It was, I believe it was an extremely smart
you were extremely smart kid.
Integration and transformation of the problem that, whoops, they say the numbers backwards. So I calculated backwards with them and everything was wrong. And I don't know.
It was perfectly right in that construction you came up with.
Let's suppose that it was totally right, but I did not have the opportunity to explain what had happened because I didn't even know that this was not the way to do it. So that was something that came to my mind when you asked this question, who are you? And why don't I'm thinking of this right now?
We're talking about language and how you.
Okay. I have this kind of. We already talked about this once, I think. These terms like mother tongue, for me, they're not suitable anymore. Now that people just travel around and live in places and learn things here and learn things there, the mother tongue, or maybe it changes in a sense, maybe the way that you sense it, that the mother tongue is the tongue of the mother, but we don't have a father tongue, and what is our own tongue? So these terms are, I don't know, maybe something to think about. At least I don't feel that I can express myself in that way with these words. Mother tongue, Muttersprache, or native language or whatever. And what now to come back to the present is I feel this very deep connection to the language. I feel totally natural and real and alive and everything when I speak English, and still at the same time I feel slightly handicapped speaking English, because my expression and my I feel like a person who is urging and striving to detailed and very distinguished expression. I feel handicapped in English in a way. And that's very weird. It's so weird.
And you need to write stuff down. There's so much stuff that's going on in my mind now with what you're saying.
And it does have something to do with identity in a way. And then I don't know, these past years I came up with and the handicap is my identity. Yeah. I don't have to be different than that. I don't
May I say something?
I
want to say something. I want to interrupt you. I interrupted you.
I drink.
It worked. So it reminds me of the what we're talking about, or discussion we had before the music. It was about structure and openness. And so I thought when you were talking about mother tongue, and that does not fit with you or for you with how you experience that whole thing with language. And I thought, yes, but for me it's different. It might be different. And then I thought, because then in my mind also that meme came up with identity, like for me. And then I continued to think, and then I thought, no, it's not identity. It's just like for me, it was understanding and connecting to a very important part of myself, in my organism, not in my mind, not in my construction of myself, but like a deep experience. And that's what can you remember? I sent you a text, a voice message, and I said, I would like to come over and have this session with you that you gave me as a present, because now I can feel like something's changing and waking up on a cellular level, on the level of my cells, very deep. And that's what happened after I met my mum, and after I understood something about me and language, because language is very important to me, as you know, also. And then, so it was something awakening inside of myself, and something, unfreezing. Maybe also in a way, probably like with you, but because of different other circumstances, but because it was earlier for me and later for you. But with me, it wasn't necessarily bullying so much as very difficult experiences of loss, and of loss of home, of country, of language, of father, of family, of being protected. There was so much stuff getting lost with the language That was, as I told you, I wanted to talk English with Amy, my youngest, because I thought, why not? I would love to do that. But I told you, I could either be with her and be with myself and then talk German or talk English and be disconnected from her and me. Until that moment where I was able to reconnect on a very deep level with myself. It's not identity, it's just life expressing itself. And now I can be with Amy, and she does not complain at all. She doesn't understand everything, but she doesn't complain at all. She's not mad at me that I talk English to her. Her older sister is mad with me when she doesn't understand, so I explain.
I had this thought.
Yeah, go for it, because I interrupted you, please.
Identity, I was thinking, what is it then? I was connecting to the origins, and then it came to my mind a Buddhist way of at least the way I understand it, this continuation.
Yeah.
In Buddhism, there's continuation, and at least in the Plum Village tradition, they talk about continuation day instead of the birthday, continuation day, and it's continuing. It's also it's transforming into a new form of whatever of energy, and then I thought, it's connecting to my continuation line.
Yes,
I like that.
We have that in like, for example, we have that in Zen Buddhism when you get the ordination. It's like you get a document with the lineage of all the masters of the tradition, and the tradition is from body mind to body mind, from heart mind to heart mind, not via words or books, but from person to person, and it's a bloodline in a way. So there's this continuity going on there, and that's an interesting part. So another thing that I thought is like, as Germans, or the German parts of us, you don't have that much. I have a German mother. You don't. You have a German mother too, yeah. So we have both half German and half something else, right? And then, I think like for Germans, it's so difficult to identify with language, culture, and nation, where it isn't. For a lot of other people, it's not. It's the inverse. They're proud of their inheritance and their culture and so on. So that came up in my mind also. So this also, and then again, there is sound, and there is music, there is coup, and there is form, there is emptiness, and there is form. So, and that's what I feel, I have both inside of me, and then even a lot more. So but that's the roots, and that's the continuity. My father was English. My whole father's side is English and has been English, and I'm like part of a very old family, Wedgwood, in England, and I wasn't able to connect to that. But the abundance of cultural inheritance, of really worthwhile energy, I was disconnected from that, and I feel much more connected now. But that does not separate. It doesn't come to separate me from my German inheritance or culture. It doesn't separate me from my Buddha and so on, so on. It's just like adding to it's just opening, and it's just like the continuity. Like that's like the bass. It's like whatever happens. The bass, it's the pulse. That's what I say. Because maybe that's because why I say Wednesday is for mothers and also for Mother Earth, to get into the pulse of the deep vibe of being a human being. That's also there's a pulse. There could be a pulse. You could purchase. So that's like what's happening when we're talking about something. Interbeing. The practice of modern Vietnamese Zen Buddhism that was taught and shared by Thich Nhat Hanh. And so interbeing is a word. So in Zen, we say Muga, non-ego. So you have to do a lot of mind work afterwards to understand. So what's there then? And it's easier with what Thich Nhat Hanh introduced, interbeing, so interconnectedness of everything. There's this net of Indra, all the diamonds mirroring each other and containing each other. Ken Wilber talked a lot about the holistic approach everything contains. So these are memes that like fly in my mind when we talk about interbeing.
There's a thing that
you were touched by that.
Yes,
practice.
There's a thing that I would like to it's rather simple, or I have the feeling it's rather simple. I did for a very long time. I always felt that my English was poor.
Still in English, yeah.
I always felt handicapped with my English.
Yeah.
And at some point, I had this idea of. I felt handicapped because I felt seen and heard in reference to what people believe is a native speaker.
Yeah.
So, you're not a native speaker. I said, well, wait a minute. I mean, what am I? It's my first language.
Of course you are.
And even if it's not as strong as my second language today, what am I? And I agree that we talk about a native speaker. It's kind of a quality container.
Yeah.
And also the native speaker has access to certain things he can do that others cannot do. And I worked as a translator for quite a while, and I did feel I did hit my limits. Really strong sometimes. I mean, as soon as it was like less technical and more lyrical or whatever, I was lost. I didn't do a good job, and then at some point I was left with this feeling of, well, what am I then if I'm not a native speaker? But I'm not what am I? I felt there was no word for me. I really felt that. And then at some point I came up with this, I speak the English of a person who had the history that I had.
Yes.
And it's totally obvious that I, as the person, the way my parents organized language at home, and the way we moved from the States to Germany, and the way we organized language at home again, which has a lot to do with the family. I mean, at some point, my parents said, let's keep up the English, that will be good for you. And at some point, me and my brother and sister, we said, oh no, we want to be like the people here, and stop that. I mean, I was bullied every day. So I wanted to assimilate with my surroundings as quick as possible, so that nobody realizes that I'm different. You know? So I speak the English of a person who has had this life, and there's no word for it. But it's not wrong, and it's not poor, and it's not. It has the richness of my life is in my way of speaking English. And that's what I kind of developed for myself. And I'm still finding peace with my English skills, my English performance. But I do today, since for the last few years, I started offering counseling and therapy in English, and I feel totally at ease with it now. And even these moments when I'm looking for words, I don't find them. I have the feeling that I can even benefit from these moments in the counseling and therapeutic context process, because they slow me down, because they involve the other maybe to find the suitable word or whatever. So it's kind of extending and leaning over and not being the knowing all the time, also being the non-knowing, being the one who needs help. For how do you say this and that, and so it's quite. I feel quite well with it now today.
So when I was fetching you before, you were saying, but in I don't feel that easy to express myself in English. And I said, oh, okay, that's a good reason to talk English then, right? I mean, that refers a bit to that.
I didn't oppose.
I didn't oppose, genau. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's some business going on in the kitchen. So that calls for some music.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have so much music still because I want to play that music
Mm-hmm.
because you.
But
chose.
we can shorten one or the other.
So there's a lot of music to cover, and we don't even have the time. So this was more teasing than playing songs.
Mm-hmm.
Those were which songs were these?
This was c'est pas l'homme qui prend la mer, c'est la mer qui prend.
That was for Agnès.
Renaud, for my ex-wife Agnès. And then we had Jeans On. I don't recall the composer and singer.
Dundas.
Okay, something like that. Yeah.
Or Dundas, I don't know how it's pronounced.
For Lawrence, my third son, and then for my oldest son Raphael, we had questions and answers by Ibrahim Malouf.
Question and answers. What are you going to do with your future?
Questions and answers.
Now we get to it's
What am I going to do? Oh, I'm going to continue my. I'm quite pleased with. Looking back, I have this feeling of a life in curves, but they're rather these large curves, not very tight curves, long curves, and always changing.
Mississippi curves.
Mississippi curves. Yeah, and I feel I'm. It's going to continue. Yeah, and there's one thing I do look forward. I mean, it's been 34 years that I have children and that I'm caring for children. I do spend a lot of time caring for my children.
That's beautiful.
And 34 years now. I mean, my second son was 15 when my third son was born. So it's like a continuous child caring period for a very, very long time. And I do, please forgive me, my two younger sons, but I do look forward to them growing up and growing up their independence and finding their ways, and then shifting into this life where children are no longer close to you and depending, and I look forward to that.
That's pretty honest, man. To express this in public.
I hope I managed to express it in a still very loving way. Because
now something's happening.
I do love my sons, and I do love the life I can live with them, and and there is something else. I feel it coming, and I'm anxious for it to come. Yeah.
Well, that's
maybe the word anxious is a little bit
strong,
troubling. No, anxious. I use as I use it. It's more as I used to use it as a child. Anxious is this. I mean this excited. Curiosity, something you don't know exactly what's coming, and you're so kind of this excitation.
It's like being intrigued.
It has nothing to do with anxiety.
Yeah,
it's anxious. It's longing for, but still kind of that's what I mean by anxious. I already felt that in the car, that there was a gap,
a misunderstanding,
the way I meant it and the way you heard it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm.
Can you sense it? Can you sense it? Because I mean, I'm.
Sense what?
Yeah, I can get to that just a second. It's like I'm. In a way, I'm polite So I was polite also with my sister and my nephew to not really like push them into. But then there's something inside of me which is like I'm a very, very visionary person. Very ambitious, not in the sense of I want something for me. It's just like, what I feel is like life really wants to express something through me, and so my job is to get out of the way. So that's like what I understand by ambition. And I have had even in the most troubled time, a pretty clear idea of what I was where I was heading. In a way, it was very vague, and I would say helplessly hopeless at times, and a lot of time was helplessly hoping, and then I'm life helped hopey, you know, so that's my person. I'm intrigued by that question when I talk to people, when I have to do with people. So because it's so strong inside of me, so that I might think that it must be strong in others too. They just don't feel it, or they don't just, or they're already there. And that's a bit what I hear when I listen to you. Like I'm pretty much there, or in living my vision, and it's unfolding. And so maybe that's my thing, that I was so held back by so many things, that I had such a strong or difficult time to get to really unfold that vision, and not only stay in that headspace of thinking of it and imagining that stuff. Maybe that's the difference. I don't know. So
this makes me think of my image of this
stream,
lonely, twist turning stream. Listening to you now, it just came back up, and I thought that. And then it came up this expression of, I think it's either Peter Senge or Otto Scharmer, one of the two, or both of them, emerging leading by the emerging future.
Yes.
And that's what I feel. I feel more like I'm sensing the emerging future before me, and that's my guide.
Yes,
but it's really close.
It's close. It's not like it's not removed in the.
I do have these feelings, but maybe in 2 years or 3 years or whatever. I do have these feelings, but I'm very adaptive, and I don't feel much loss, or I rather feel the gain. I mean, I studied electrical engineering. And I finished it, and I started working as a translator in the technical field. And then I moved on to technical writing, and I moved on to communication, and I moved on to systems thinking and therapy, and it's just like, and it's all connected. And for me, it's logic, but it's a pretty wide soft turns over the last decades, and that's why I just have this feeling that it's going to continue like this.
What I really like about that, and it helps me, so this, as I always say, this is not an interview, this is a talk, and if it's okay, I would like to talk about me, because it reveals something, or I feel something that gets it's just sometimes people might have a misunderstanding that it's not my space, and I really like also the idea of like giving space, and I'm also practicing that and trying to do more of that. But now I feel I want to share something or explore something with you, if you allow. And I came up with this approach, and we were talking about that when I first came to you and asked you, would you be interested to have this talk? You remember I was sitting at your place, we were sitting at like on stools like these ones a bit. Yours weren't moving though, and not like turning you, and you have to make a constant effort to stay there. But
my first reaction was, "Ooh, I don't have much to say."
No, let me say, let me find back the thing. So what were we talking about just now?
I was talking about this emerging future.
Yeah, exactly. So I told you that I was starting this rhythm, and I told I was about your present. I thought I would maybe use that when spring comes up with spring cleans, and so I was referring to the
session.
Yeah, and I was referring also to the wie sagt man Jahreszeit nochmal? The seasons. That I came to understand, that's a pretty interesting way of getting organized in your life with like a 3 months perspective. That's a bit what you're saying, maybe also. You didn't narrow it down in that way, like talking about 3 months, but like you can see it. And it's like you can have goals, you can organize, like maybe under some roof of a bigger goal or vision or something, but still, that's something you can work with, it's like in that stream, and you can see, okay, that's it's future emerging. I can see what's in front of me and emerge, and then adapt in a way and understand and learn and sculpt and so on. And so when you were just talking, I came to understand that for a long time, that was a structure I was caught in also, to always think the vision was that important, and it is in a way, but it's more not from a motivational point of view, and not from a how to say really manifesting point of view, but rather from a navigational and orientation point of view. That's interesting to have a vision for me, but that's maybe the assumption I always had, that everybody needs this, and this is important. And what now, in this exchange, what I come to understand, no, that's like also my way of functioning. Maybe it's just my way, but it isn't all that important. It's much more important, the thing you were proposing now, and that I also am sensing, that working with the future emerging in Aufsicht. Mm-hmm. In eyesight, inside, you can see it, and it's there. You can already touch parts of it and work with it.
It's this, when you're in the present moment.
Yeah.
Actually, you're nowhere.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
And in this nowhere of the present moment, you're touching the future.
Yes.
But you're not in the future.
No.
You just. Or you're not even touching it. You feel the energy of the future, of what's coming. That's the emerging future. And that's the way to think of it.
And for me, this is like the same thing we talked about when the music was on and the mics were off, about trauma. Like that I had these big things and memes going on, but they were like bigger than life in a way, and in my way also, the vision and these overarching goals. They are a bit memes, like trauma was, and they are hard to grasp. And for a lot of people, they're not even interesting, or there's no resonance going on. Whereas if we talk about experiences that were difficult and that made it difficult to stay connected to yourself, or like go about your life in a way where you're open and interested and like really in a childlike mode of learning and exploring the world, that got in a way, blocked by some kind of experience, that's approachable for people. And like working what's in front of you, and like on a 3 month scope maybe. So what would you want to tackle in like spring? That's something you can talk to people. If they're visionaries, they would have that organized in a bigger thing. For others, it was just like, oh yeah, that's, it's approachable. And I like that a lot now. That's happening. Like when we're talking about structure of music and sound, so I'm moving away from structure that was giving me some kind of, helping me and helped me, but it was also with time imprisoning me. And now I can go off. I can move to sound more and can be more open and more also with people. I'm so many levels. That's so interesting. I like that approach. So
that brings you, may I?
Yeah, of course.
It brings me back. This is like kind of a little bit changing the subject.
Yeah, please. We are.
It's back to the sound. That's something that I find important to add, at least in order to make my approach and my acting and handling sound a little bit more clear. We talked about sound and music in the context of structure, and we agreed upon the similarity of structure also in the sound, and still the openness that the sound has. That there is less maybe in the music, depending on how you listen to it.
Yeah,
of course.
That was interesting.
And then, but there's the cellular the cellular information or effect of sound and music, and that
cellular on the level of the cells.
On the cell level, I mean, of course, music is vibration, and sound is vibration, and sound is more or less continuous, and music is more structured,
of course.
changing. So on the cellular level, we have there's some kind of action, and that I find that I do believe, or I do feel that the. I mean, I work with sound, so I'm talking about sound and not the music. I don't want to distinguish between the two.
No,
this is not possible with the music. I do feel that the this action of sound on the cellular level to offer a realm of reorganization or whatever, where structure, personal structure, might play an important part. Maybe yes, maybe no. I find that that's a very important part of the sound work I'm doing. And just to give an image, what I like to think about is taking a Daunenkissen, feather
pillow.
A pillow, but filled with feathers.
Yeah.
And shaking it.
Yes.
Taking a crushed pillow and shaking it.
Yes.
And letting the content find its new natural order. And then you put it down, and it's nice and fluffy again, and ready to use.
And you allow the pillow to breathe also. So you.
That's what for me happens.
And that helps
sound and
that
body.
helps structure.
Sound and body.
There was
and self-organization.
That's another thing.
We just talked about that before too.
Yeah. We won't be able to.
We're going to compete here now.
No. But we're not competing with one another. We're competing against time.
Yes.
And we won't be able to fit it in. So there will be another talk probably where we might address these things.
Very important. So the tunes, at least shortly.
Sorry?
So the tunes, the songs I picked.
Yeah.
At least shortly, because otherwise.
Yeah, of course. I'm not done yet. So we have to. It's going longer than 2 hours now. I changed my radio shows also to 90 minutes from 6 minutes because it talks so much. That's not enough. I have to say 90 minutes. So we don't know when we end. Do you have to leave? No. So we'll just continue some more.
No opportunity to answer.
We're not under stress at all. So this is what it is, right? This is also exploring the realm of these talks. And there doesn't have to be a finite time. We're not limited by that, are we? But still, we won't be able to fit everything in here either. So we were talking about self-organization before. We were also talking about space, and that's something like if you talk about the pillow, you're doing this, but it's also you allow the pillow to breathe, and that happens with the space you open up. Also, the space is limited by the cloth, but in a way, and so that's another thing with you. It's not only what you do. It's not only like the moments in time, like the time thing. It's also the place. And you were talking about that in the car also. It's also space is also part of the music. If we talk about this here and we take jazz as a music experience that's evolving and improvising, then if we try to use that as an analogy, the space is also part of that music, and that's true for what you're doing a lot too. So when I get to your home, I'm entering a space that does something to me. When I get to your place where you do therapy and sound work with people on a process level, I'd say. So that's the space you're offering, and that space allows for the pillow I am and the feathers inside of me to move. And the same is true for Atelier Haus Bulach, where your studio is and where you have events going on. So that's an important thing I'd like to mention about you also. And maybe also about myself, about the work we do. It's not only just like events, it's also spaces. It's not only time. Because event is time, a time-bound place, okay? But the place is important too. The space is important. Like, we were talking about open space conference before, like Harrison Owen. Just like where he says, once the structure is there, once the music is playing, leaving lots of room for the sound to be experienced, then what you have to do is to be the bass in a way, and that is to hold the space in a way. And having that, and understanding that also, and now when Peter Senji, you were talking about sensing, this thing of like, there's something happening that's beyond doing or underneath doing. That's breathing, that's being present, that's being there, and also understanding that things play their role in allowing for life to breathe inside of us. I love that you do that. So I would leave the last words to you. So I continue to talk, so you have some time to really think about your last words for this session. Then we play some music, okay? But before we do that, I'd like the people to know where they can find out more about the work you do and the events you offer. And I will put the links into the description afterwards. So what is that? So if I wanted to have an experience of sound and the effect it can have on my organism, on my mind, on my soul, and whatever structure or no structure might evolve from there. So where would I go and find out more?
Okay, I'll try to make it short, but
please, no, just take your time.
Extend a little bit. It's been about over 20 years that I've been working with sound. Sometimes more intensively, other times less. And during the course of time, I came up with this website idea, and I reserved a domain, which is inklangsein.de.
Inklangsein.
One word, inklangsein.de.
Is there only German version or is there an English version?
It's only German.
Okay.
Up to date. And the work I do, I call it das Klangfeld.
Yes, the field of sound.
The field of sound. And actually, yesterday I was thinking about making a new sign for the window of this sound room I have, and I don't know why I didn't think about it before, because I had this in Klangsein.de and the Klangfeld on the sign, and I thought it was kind of weird to handle these two, and then I checked the domain available domains. So yesterday evening I reserved klangfeld.info. So the whole thing is now on inklangsein.de, and it's going to shift over to klangfeld.info. But of course, both are going to be available. And
okay, so one will link to the other, probably.
So for the time being, it's the sound work is on inklangsein.de. It's the work I do in my practice, basically on the sound bed. It's individual, it's couple, it's group work with monochords and everything.
But also
very interesting.
Talking.
And then, of course, besides the sound, there's my therapeutic and counseling work.
Okay.
That's talking and trance, imagining, trauma. Whatever it is, whatever.
Take your time, Stephen.
Kind of distresses.
Take your time.
That's the work I present on cardona.de.
Okay, cardona.de.
Cardona.de. In in German and in English.
Oh, nice. Good for this English speaker, not non-German speakers.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just the one about the sound. It's these. Then there's the offering of open groups in the Atelierhaus Bulach, also presented on the Imklangsein.de. Those are basically the gong sessions I present. I offer about every 6 weeks, following the moon and sun rhythms.
Yes.
So the next one will be on 21st or 2nd of
March.
Close to the I don't
Tag und Nacht gleiche.
Don't know which one it is. Moon or
Okay.
well, at least it's the Tag und Nacht gleiche.
Yeah.
What is that? Tag und Nacht gleiche is Epiphany? Is that
No, I think so. It's a complicated word.
whatever.
Yeah.
Solstice.
It's when the day and the night have the same length.
Yeah, solstice.
Huh?
Solstice.
Yes, that's what it is.
Solstice.
The spring solstice. Exactly.
So that's the Atelierhaus Bulach, and then what's kind of new, and I kind of by chance popped into that. Performance is also a possibility to book me as a performer in the context of a show or a workshop or whatever it is. Yeah, as a performer with sound, and then whatever it is I bring, I have so many sound sources to offer.
I have a bit of an intimidating question that comes to my mind. Should I ask it or not?
Yes, please do.
How comfortable do you feel on a scale from 0 to 10 with promoting what you do? 0, not very well, and 10, very well.
Here I feel very comfortable.
Okay, nice.
But that's thanks to you, because you had a very charming way of introducing and inviting me to present my things. Otherwise, the sound work, especially the sound bed, is, as I feel it, very difficult to communicate, because people.
What he wanted to say is, it's not that easy.
It's not that easy
to promote. It's hypnotherapy talk.
I'm having a hard time.
You don't have such an easy time with it.
Yeah, not such an easy time.
With promoting it. Yes.
Because people have this idea, this concept of sound work, which is basically sound bowls, which are wonderful singing bowls, wonderful sound sources. Yet the sound bed, the gong, and these things, they are just totally different and very, very different from the.
I have so many.
bowls.
I have so much stuff popping up in my mind. There's other reasons why it's difficult and why that is good.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we talk about that another time, because it's very potent.
Mm-hmm.
And so I say it. It's not. I think people don't need to know exactly how that works and why sound bed is a good thing. I feel you might want to make sure that people understand they're very safe with you when they get to that place and go into that work with you, because it's so potent, and the rest will just happen by itself. I'd be very confident about. So I can say, guys out there, I was there. It's such a beautiful work you do, and that's maybe something. I don't know why I asked that question, but I think we're not promoting, we are sharing, and we're not sharing ourselves, and we're not sharing our services. We are sharing, we're opening doors to life and to people themselves, and that's the true service.
That's the feeling I have.
Yes.
There is something there in the Südweststadt Karlsruhe, Nockstraße 17.
Yeah.
It's waiting to be discovered, and it is so so wide, and I just, at first I want to say powerful, but it is in a way powerful, but that's very misunderstandable.
Stop promoting, not necessary.
There's one thing I would like to say. I because I have this feeling that it's not easy to communicate. I produced 2 videos, and they're both accessible on the website in kangsai.de.
Okay, thanks for that. And then I feel there's a projection going on with you on your potential clients. You might want to look into that. So it's the coaching part of our talk. There's a projection.
Mm-hmm.
Why it's maybe not accessible, it's waiting. It's like there's something, for me, I'm sensing something there, like an inversion that's asking for a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
This is just an intuition.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I have a very, very slight feeling of what you are referring to.
We will explore that outside of this talk, probably, if that is what the future emerging is asking for. I really, really enjoyed this talk, man. So we will end up with music now, and your last words.
My last words.
Yes.
I didn't have the time to think about it.
Yeah, so you have it now.
And talking.
No problem. I will just breathe, and you can breathe, and then.
Yes.
Take your time.
Yes, I'll take my time. Thank you. No, thank you, Martin, for inviting me, and thank you for making me and letting me feel very comfortable here at your place. This is what I anticipated, and that's why I was, in the way I mean it, anxious, positively curious, still, and open to what is coming, and this little bit of vibrating on the surface. In a way, I was just thinking, in a way I had this feeling of, this was some heartful speech and some deep talk and whatever. I have no idea about what it might be for external listeners. I mean, you are not totally external. You are here with
He's
us.
Addressing Petra now.
Now I'm addressing Petra, which is, I presume, different from somebody who might be watching this video stream. And I just hope that one person or the other also can reach this sharing thing we had going on here, and appreciate that, and maybe even be inspired by or whatever.
So that's to you.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
Yeah. So that's the songs.
Please Nightingale first.
And the other ones, if people want to know, they can Shazam them.
Yeah.